What's up everyone, my name is Sean Arnold and welcome to my deck build guide for Drongo. I've played a couple of games with Drongo and he's a lot of fun to play. He's definitely a very good carry. And before we get into the deck build, I just want to point out something which you may not be aware with his Rad Round ability. Rad Rounds is his effect where he loads 3 uranium bullets which goes up to 6 that irradiate and hit any targets for 2 seconds. Each time a target is hit, a stack is added and the duration is reset. Now that's all obvious and that's what the cards, that's what the ability says. But what isn't clear is that the more rounds you hit into a target, the higher your damage scaling begins. I don't know the numbers off the top of my head, but I think it's something like 1.3 for the first round, and then it goes up to 2 point something, and then more and more and more. Basically, the more rounds you hit into a target, the larger the burst damage will be at the end. So this goes really well with power, and that's where the theory behind this build is going to go into. Now, when it comes to carries, because I play solo queue a lot, I often like to go order chaos, just because I never want to be in a situation where I am unknowingly vulnerable because, say, the support person I have didn't bring a ward or certain cards or just isn't very good at their job, and unfortunately it happens. So I always like to be a bit prepared. If I was playing with a friend, I probably would go Chaos Death for more damage because I would know that I could depend on that person to keep me alive. But solo queue, otherwise I'm gonna go for order chaos. So here's our early game hand. Our early game hand is, first you're gonna get lamplighter, put some wards on the field, keep yourself alive and start farming. If you are facing a shadow plane hero like Countess or Kalari, someone you expect to be building into Shadow Dancer or Death, even though Shadow Dancer got nerfed and now costs a lot more, so maybe we're not gonna see it anymore. If you're playing against someone like Kalari, it may be worth not building straight into agility and going into vitality, 2 points of vitality and 2 points of intellect to go and grab protective sentry, so you have 2 war cards to keep yourself alive. What I like to do is I like to use lamplighter for the back and the front part of the entries to the safe lane, and then I'll use protective sentry in lane, so if a Kalari has managed to sneak up on me, I know that they're around me and they can't gank me so easily. Especially encounters who can burst you down. If they get like a purple buff, that can be really damaging to you and it hurts your farm a lot. But if you do feel relatively safe, don't worry about protective sentry, it's just an option. And we are going to go into the early game hand here, which is lamplighter, demolitionist, and poised aggressor. May I just say I love this new deck builder and the layout of it. It looks fantastic. It's so much easier. Only things I don't like is that the cards here are cut off, but I can still see them and I know what they do, and it comes up here, so it works a lot better than it used to. So this is your early game hand. Ward and 2 damaging cards increases your basic damage, and then of course you get a bit of attack speed from building agility, and then you're going to replace these 2 cards eventually with Nitro Boost and Sand Speeder. By this point you should have your first tower down, and these 2 cards give you 22 attack speed in total. Also they give you a large boost to your movement speed, so it makes it easier for you to rotate, participate in team fights as long as you're ready and willing to do so. Then we're going to move on and we're going to replace these 2 cards with these 2 cards, 7-point cards. Flag Bearer and Pressure Hunter. Flag Bearer is for soloing. If you're pushing a lane, this buffs your minions. It gives you 29 attack speed. It's a huge boost and it's really good for keeping your minions alive. Similarly, you've got Pressure Hunter for team fights. This is Giant Slayer, and this does more damage to those enemies that have a lot of vitality because you get more bonus damage for fighting them. Those 2 cards combined are really good for team fighting because if there's a wave of minions nearby you and you're team fighting someone else, you get both benefits at the same time, and it can be a nice dramatic boost. Once at this point you have 14 agility, and then you'll be ready to have the multi-shot gem, which is going to be very important, so you can farm a lot faster than you used to. And at that point you really want to work as fast as you can to 21 agility, so you can go and grab heavy hitter and Knight of Assure. Knight of Assure was buffed. It gives you more basic damage than it did before. Before it was 25 and now it's 30. But these 2 cards increase your basic damage quite significantly, alongside having a ward to ward those key areas such as All Prime, Raptors, and so on and so forth. Then you are ready to get to your final hand. There is 1 card which has been cut off there, so I will tell you what it is. But your final hand would be Knight of Assure, Song of the Sentinel. I'll tell you why we'll do that in a second. We have Knight of Assure and Red Zone, which I'll go and highlight here. Red Zone double gives you 50% damage bonus, but you take 50% more damage. It gives you a nice 29 points of more power, which helps your rad rounds really, really significantly. And when you have this card on, you're just a force to be dealt with. You're still quite squishy, but carries are squishy anyway, so having the more damage is just gonna not really hurt you too much because you're normally gonna die very quickly anyway. So you're a bit of a glass cannon, but this card plus Knight of Assure and Song of the Sentinel takes you to 25 agility in total, and it gives you and your allies a nice power buff. In terms of gems, your standard set of agility gems, improved killing blows and wealthy for more goals so you can farm faster, multi-shot for that increased speed in terms of farming, clearing waves. At that point you can really farm faster. And then piercing basic, I like so that you can shred your enemies on armor a bit. And finally we have critical hits. I might take this off because I'm using Knight of Assure and not the critical hit card, so I actually might take that off and put on either Relentless Pursuit if I want to escape, or Bounty Stalker. Maybe Bounty Stalker will be better, but it's really up to you and you're tested. And the last gem we have is Quick Exit, just because in the late game, going back to base and coming out of base is something you really want to do quite quickly, so this helps in the later game. And that's my Drongo deck. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys are looking for any other deck builds, let me know and I'll tell you what they are. I do have quite a few, and hopefully you guys enjoy playing Drongo. Welcome to Patch Tuesday, and I'll see you soon.